Previously on, and this is why I love comics. Long time no hear.
No kidding.
We're talking about Reckless tonight, right?
Let's make it 3 episodes in a row that Reckless is the key subject.
Sniffles. Yeah, okay. That's good podcasting.
That's good. Yeah. If you don't hear it sound like somebody doing a line of cocaine,
right?
That's not good podcast.
Don't tell them our secrets.
Yeah. How does it keep your energy levels so high?
You're listening to, and this is why I love comics.
Andy and Mike. Andy and Mike.
Please elaborate.
No, you're fine. I wanted to see that. All right, let's see. How do I do the intro again?
Well, to me, initially, I think the intro was you just doing this. You don't say. You don't say. You don't say.
What did he say? He didn't say.
He didn't say. That's what it felt like just for a moment there.
Right?
Please elaborate.
Please elaborate. And welcome, everybody, to another episode of And This Is Why I Love Comics. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And we're back again. We talk about comics. We're old friends. And we talk about all kinds of things. But mostly we try to revolve them around comic books. Because that's in the name of our podcast.
Feels like a contractual obligation.
It is, yeah. It certainly is. If you have any comments or anything like that, please let us know. We do have a new subscription page, but I probably won't mention it till the end. But the link is in the show notes. Yeah.
It's there. So
it's
take a
there.
look.
Where is
it?
It's
in a book.
It's gone.
Reading Rainbow.
Oh, man. Should I start over? Nah. You kidding? I got the sniffles. I'm not sure why.
Brought it all back around.
It was all that alcohol I drank. Maybe that's why I'm just rambling on too. You know?
Yeah, that had its merits. Aged in some cases and to perfection, and others just aged.
Right. Yeah. So that's probably what it is. Now that I think about it, I got a little buzz on. I probably had too many sips of the whiskey bourbon, but you know, that's not important right now. Right, Katie? How much bourbon I've drank tonight?
Oh, you should probably have some more.
I should have some more. Okay, yeah. All right. I do have a cup here. And I am right next to the bourbon glass again.
Again.
Anyway, we met earlier. We talked earlier, Mike, and I instantly went into podcast mode and was trying to direct everybody and ask questions, which I thought was hilarious, considering we were all friends, just chatting away about our dear friend Aaron, who it's been a year. Well, actually, it's been a little less than a year since we lost him, but it was his birthday today, so we gathered around and
reminiscing,
and I'm
That's
glad
what
we
you
did
do
it.
when you get to our age. It's all about the reminiscing.
Right. Yeah. I got my tears gone earlier in the day so that I could talk about it without any tears. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously our focus was more on the positive aspects of it. Obviously, you know, its absence is dearly noted and felt, but there's also another level of like, yep, remember the good times as well.
Yeah, we were not making fun of them. We were remembering funny moments and things like that. So that was kind of neat. I'm glad we did it. We're going to talk about a book today, and I'm going to stop rambling. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I think that's the actual core of any podcast is a ramble.
Right. You know, I thought in January that we were going to do 3 episodes a month. And we did 2 in January, but that's mostly my fault. I apologize. We'll try 3 this month, not this week. I'll try to work that out in my consciousness.
Yep, you take the good, you take the bad.
Yeah.
Take them both.
It's a facts of life. But I am Blair.
Oh, man, does that make me Tootie?
Yes, you're Tootie or Mrs. Garrett.
Oh, girls.
Oh, girls, I missed you.
Dang it, why are shows like that around more?
Yeah,
Again, on a very special episode of Facts of Life.
that's right.
Will
Joe's fixing a
Joe-
motorcycle again.
Yeah. Joe's having an affair with an older man. Scandal.
We should change our podcast name to, and this is why I love the Facts of Life,
Yeah.
and just do episode readings of. No? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Just our own interpretation. We do our own voices of all the characters, just kind of making it all up. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when Blair said, "Oh, I don't know." And then Mrs. Garrett, "Oh, girls."
Oh, Joe, come here for a hug. This is already the weirdest podcast we've done.
Yep. I think we should open every podcast we do with a very special episode. In this episode, Andy learns the meaning of $1.
Yeah, we could do that. I think that would work out perfectly.
Yep. On this episode, we get Bo and Luke Duke. We're getting into some trouble.
And they all sound like Mrs. Garrett. Oh,
Yeah. Boss Hog is after us.
them Duke boys.
Them Dukes, them Dukes, them Dukes. Q, Q, Q. Yeah, Bo and Luke were getting themselves into more trouble, and Daisy was slipping into something more comfortable. Greatest lines of all time.
Don't get us started on Mystery Science Theater, which, I had to edit out of the last episode, but I have it saved. I'm going to use it maybe for a beginning some other time. So don't worry, I have the raw footage.
Yeah, it's ready at a moment's notice.
It's ready. Anyway, we're reading tonight. Well, not reading. Okay. We are we're just talking about DC's 1996 4-issue limited series Kingdom Come by Mark Waid, Alex Ross. Pretty sure Alex Ross had the idea first and then got Mark Waid into it.
Yeah, I was kind of going to ask about that because from all intents and purposes, this was a case of Alex Ross did it all and just needed somebody to put dialogue to it.
Yeah. Well, I think some of that, Alex Ross we haven't really talked about, but of course he has gorgeous paintings. I assume you think it's gorgeous, but we'll talk about the art in a little bit. But yeah, I think it was Ross's idea. I think Mark Waid had some say on the plot and stuff, but initial concept, from what I gather in my reading, was Ross, and then Waid probably expanded on it as I burp. Excuse me. So that's what we're going to talk about eventually. I have the hardcover. I had the originals, but I think I sold them because I can't find them. But I have the hardcover, a hardcover anyway. And this is another Elseworlds book. And
Didn't DC roll all Elseworlds into its actual legit continuity? Meaning that didn't they make Elseworlds into other dimensions,
it's a different Earth, now that they have multiple Earths again.
Yeah.
The Kingdom Come Earth is, I don't know. I don't know my Earths anymore. I used to. They move around
it
so
made
much.
sense at one point. Now it's just kind of an amalgam of whatever they wanted to do at whatever time.
But they did, and personally, I think it should never have been moved or another Earth. It should just stay as it is. And I think the same as Watchmen. They pull that stuff into the regular DC as well. Just a few years ago, and I don't know. Some things should just be left alone. Sequels and stuff like this. They had a 6-issue miniseries for Kingdom Come. After that, or even more than that, after Kingdom Come or whatever they called it. But those were
After MASH.
Yeah, After MASH. But I personally, even though, and I'm rattling on here, but even though I liked what some of the Justice Society of America issues had the Kingdom Come Superman, and tied through that story. Those were really good, and it was a great story. I still think they should just leave it alone and not even touch it. But what do I know? What? I mean, come on.
Yeah, we're just bitter old men. That's
Right.
all. That's all we know. It's just how to be bitter and complain about things.
Right. We try to stay positive, but we talk about comics. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And
right
as
away.
fans are.
Kingdom Come, did you read them weekly, monthly?
No, this was another one of probably about a year later. I eventually got a trade, and then I don't know where the trade went, but I did wind up getting like the deluxe edition of it. Like, and what made things difficult was the fact that it said 20th anniversary, and it hit me like, holy crap, 20 years ago this was done. To me, it still has a lot of like, wow, that was a great series, and it came out just days ago. It's like, no, this is now 20 years ago this happened. Took me back a little bit, just realizing, when this was new, it was like the talked about book. And because it pulled everybody together. I mean, it legitimately made like the entire DC. It was the Crisis on Infinite Earths, but the other end of it, where the Crisis of Infinite Earths was like the beginning of this whole new take on their comic series and the comic continuity. This was the end of their comic continuity. It's like, okay, we were wrapping it all up. What would be the end of the DC universe as we know it?
Right, yeah. And it's hard not to tie this story into the emergence of Image Comics and, the flamboyant pouch characters who just kind of multiply and don't really have a direction. You can see some similarities between the next generation of heroes coming out and not really having a purpose, while the old heroes kind of are pushed back and not looked upon as great. And there's been a lot of podcasts about this series and going through page by page and analyzing panel by panel, because he throws in a lot of Easter eggs.
Yes.
There's a ton of them. I mean, like, so much Easter egg.
The subtleties, both if you know the continuity of the comics, or if you don't, there's still a lot to be, covered.
Right. And you could have some podcasts have analyzed each panel and have done a great job. And that's not something I need to repeat here. They did probably much more research than we are going to on it. If I remember where I saw some really good ones, I'll add them to the show notes and direct you to some other podcasts. We're just going to talk about it generally, maybe go through some pages, but I want to know, Mike, is this your first encounter with Alex Ross when you read this?
No, I had read Marvels that came out prior. So before he jumped to DC for a bit here, he had been at Marvel doing stuff, and that Marvels with Kurt Busiek, or Busiek, or however you pronounce his name, where they basically took a very similar tone. And then, I think of this is really about the closest thing I could say is the drawback is, what he did for Marvels, which was taking kind of like the day in the life of somebody who saw emergence of the Marvel Universe, a newspaper reporter. All of a sudden, that was like a big deal. And Alex Ross's first big push was that series. And then he jumped over to DC and did likewise with DC of what would it be like, not necessarily in that case where it was like Marvel was the beginnings of the Marvel Universe and seeing all these big events from a pedestrian's point of view. This one is seeing like I said earlier, the end of the DC Universe from from a civilian's point of view, narrator's point of view of sorts.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I forget that he did Marvels. I know he did Earth X, or at least he did the writing for it. But
And the
I've
Converse.
never, not that not a Marvel guy, but I've never read Marvels, and I know it's good, but I've never read it, never had the opportunity to. Kingdom Come probably was my first introduction to Alex Ross. Of course, he did later on Justice, which is something that we should talk about someday too. So that's pretty good. Have you ever read his Justice?
I did. It's something I will say. Alex Ross's work is amazing, but sometimes his storytelling and his panel structures are incredibly confusing.
Yeah.
And he's trying to put too much into any given frame, so then it makes it even more like I have no idea what I'm looking at. And so, yeah, the Justice series was like, nah, maybe not so much.
I'll be honest, I don't remember the story. I just remember the art.
Yeah, and that one I was picking up as they were coming out, so it made it even more difficult because I was just like not really that strong of a connection to it because it was like, no, I'm good, because it just didn't seem to resonate. Like you said, it didn't have the impact. Like this one had impact because it was a sweeping Elseworld story and it was allowed to have it. Justice was more about him going like, you remember the Super Friends? Yeah,
I love the Super Friends, yeah.
I love the Super Friends, and here's something you're going to love about the Super Friends too. Okay.
And you can tell that Alex Ross worships the Super Friends. Like everything he does for DC has some sort of draw back into those Super Friends cartoons from the 70s. Whether it's the look of some of the characters or the Legion of Doom headquarters is always, in some of it, even though that really wasn't in the comics for such a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if it really officially was, because technically, I mean, that's a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and I don't know what kind of rights that they have necessarily to it.
Right.
Even though it was done with, DC's characters, it's still kind of like, But I guess they did do, like, the Super Friends comic book.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Way back when I think that was back. Oh no, Zan and Gina did show up.
Yeah, they had Wendy and Marv and the
to
Wonder
begin
Twins.
with, and then
I have a few of those.
Yeah, I think we all kind of had a couple that it's like, I don't know, I don't remember buying them. I think they just magically appeared.
I think you're right, because I don't remember buying mine either.
They just showed up, and you're like, oh okay then.
Alex Ross to me is on a different level than most artists. But like you said, he focuses so much on one thing that he loses a little bit on story paneling, like just storytelling. But, he's still a great creator and artist. And he recently did a Fantastic Four book that was...
Oh, yeah, that's graphics.
Yeah, it was more of a less paint. Well, I don't know if it was painting. It was just his drawing.
Yeah, basically color over the drawing, so it still is graphite. Very different approaches. Very much like he was aping Steranko in some ways. And then obviously there was a heavy Kirby influence on the aesthetics, the look of the characters, but the colorization and the experimentation was Steranko. And I do, again... This is a great opportunity, to see him, Alex Ross, try something different, because everybody so associates him with a certain look and a certain aesthetic that he's always been known for, and this gives him a chance to spread out and do something different. And I think that really helped at least show that he can do something other than that photorealism.
Yeah, Kingdom Come, the story... it's based on a near future where the Justice League basically is retired, and there was an event that sent Superman away, and then the rest mostly went back to their cities and kind of faded away from the public. And then the sons and daughters of the heroes kind of took over, and then a bunch of other factors involved too. Which was interesting because we had a conversation a couple podcasts ago, or maybe it was last podcast. I don't remember. about generations and legacy for DC Comics, and how when they made this new Justice Society comic, and they came up with all these new heroes that suddenly we're supposed to say were all around all the time. All these sons and daughters of the Justice Society, and I think here's more characters you could have used instead of creating some even more it's just you have all these characters in your folders just waiting to be used and expanded on, but you keep making new characters and it just waters everything down. It drives me nuts, and I don't think I would have gotten that perspective if I hadn't read the recent Justice Society. Again, I'm a bitter old man, and I like my Batman, one way, don't ruin them.
There's definitely something there about when they make a derivative character off of it. It's like, why do you have to make a derivative? Why can't it be a completely different character? How many Batman characters, how many Robins, how many whatever is needed? And it's like, I like the Bruce Wayne Batman. You want to make a Batman-like person? Then just either make a Batman story or make a completely different character,
right,
and don't call them Batman. That's what Green Arrow is. What? Yep. That's Batman as well. Rich, has ideals, has an arsenal of weapons, had their own rogues gallery,
has the arrow car.
Stories. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was one of the best parts of that Brave and the Bold cartoon. That Aeromobile.
Oh, I love that cartoon.
That was brilliant.
I was going somewhere with that. Don't remember now. Anyway, where was I going? I shouldn't drink and then podcast.
It's a deadly combination.
Don't drink and podcast.
Well, let me ask a couple questions, and maybe this will get you moving down a path. Would you recommend this book to somebody who's never read a DC comic?
No, just like I wouldn't recommend them jumping onto Crisis on Infinite Earths, as their first comic. It's laced with details and story that most people wouldn't understand the first time through, and I wouldn't recommend it. I do think it's a quintessential reading of DC. Once you've read, 5 or 6 other trades, I think you'd be safe to go and read this one. It's a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. But I would not say a new reader could just go, here, enjoy this book, because there's lots of little things you wouldn't understand. Like, what? And it would just be so confusing. You probably would take that enjoyment away from reading it. What do you think?
This has zero meaning to anybody who's not been in the DC universe for a while. It's one of those acquired tastes almost, in my opinion. It just doesn't seem like it has. While it is an interesting story, and there is clearly they can draw conclusions of their own as they're reading the story. They could potentially read it without having too much knowledge, but the impact just isn't the same.
Right.
If you don't feel as if there is that, oh, I get it. I know exactly who this person is, or I understand what their motives are. If you don't have that, then it's then this isn't a book for you to read.
Yeah. I really think reading this book, you need some basic understanding of the DC universe, or else it's just over your head or under or whatever. I'm not saying it's for only intelligent people. It's just people who've read for a while. Because if I had just jumped onto this, sure, the main kind of characters, but you don't get the nuances of who all these other characters are. Or I had half the fun reading the book and originally, and trying to figure out whose kids were, these. Oh, is that's Starfire and Nightwing's, daughter, and that's really cool. And there's just even the big reveal at the end with Captain Marvel. If you didn't know that character, and even before these movies, then you wouldn't go like I did when, you discover that it's, it wasn't him, it was Billy and all that stuff. Spoiler alert, by the way, Coach.
Right,
And,
again, another 20-year-old series.
yeah, spoiler. But, it's just, you wouldn't get that impact. You'd go, oh, okay, I don't understand. And then later on you go, oh, okay, I think I understand.
Yeah. And that's where it's like, man, there's just too many little things in here that, yeah, you wouldn't have a clue if you weren't already well versed in it. Because it was like, Orion? Oh, okay, yeah, I guess. And you're thinking, like, is that Darkseid? No, that's not Darkseid. There's just so many, like, you really have to know. Again, it's like, again, the Onion. You can take it as a surface and read it as a good story. And it was a good story. It was kind of a morality play of, does how good over, with purpose, having a purpose-led life is big deal versus having just aimless wanderings, which is what a lot of comics do these days. If you know a little bit more about the characters, then you can reread it and go like, oh, now, okay, I get it. And if you know a lot about it, then there's that other layer and another layer. And you can keep pulling more and more and extracting more and more as you go. And, depending on your level of DC knowledge. And it was kind of almost like, I'd have to say, like, trivia, where you're thinking, like, there's so much and it goes so deep that it's like, is there something that they stumped you on? It's like, oh, you got me on that one. I thought I knew my DC comics, but nope, you got me on that character. It's like, oh, I now I see how that character is, based off of this or something like that.
Right.
And it's like, the more you know of the DC universe, the more this has impact. And then even the more you know, bing, 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 it worked. But I just, like I said, going all the way back to the initial question, I just couldn't recommend this to somebody who's not read comic books.
I will say that Alex Ross, he uses real people as his characters, and he used his father as the main civilian who goes through the visions and stuff like that as his template, which is really neat. I will say that every time I see Superman, it's your father that I see.
Yeah.
So that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it is, but it's like, oh, there's Mike's dad.
Yeah. The white temples, all the slick hair.
It's not perfect, but yeah, especially like the first scene where he comes back after hiding away for a while, and he's carrying these two bodies of the supervillains on the bridge, and he's looking down at the people on the bridge, and that's your dad's jaw right there,
Yeah. It was kind of funny because there was a lot of that where it's like, yeah, I can see, my dad being he was like 6'2", had a imposing persona about him. I mean, people knew, like, if he came into the room, you knew that. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
It's like, he just pointed. Oh, crap, he just said something. Oh, crap, Yeah, the other question I had was, how often did you catch yourself looking for Easter eggs in this book more than reading the book?
Oh, I was looking all the time. Like, it got in the way of reading the book, because you just know, oh, that character is Tori Amos. Oh, that character is Mark Waid in the background. It's like, you're just looking around. Oh, there's the Beatles. And too much of it, if I must be honest about it. But it's fun. Even on every reread, I see something new. Then, or I don't remember, either one.
It does bring you back full circle, so to speak, of like, rereading it, giving you options to kind of review it once more. And then it's like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, oh, I see that now. Clearly, one of those things where I got like a couple pages in, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to just read this. I'm going to read it straight through for the podcast. And I got like 3 or 4 pages in there. It's like, oh, hey, look, there's that character. Oh, hey, look, there's this thing. And then I kind of flip back a couple of pages and it's like, oh, yeah, there's this thing that I remember seeing earlier. It's like, oh, that's right. There's this. And it just got to be like, holy crap, this is way too much. It's like, I'm not getting what I should be getting out of this thing. Like, it's like, I got to just read it so I understand the story so I can talk about it. But yeah, the Easter egg thing just got so, I have to say, it got so in the way.
Yeah.
That I had it. And then, yet another question, talking about reading it. It has been at least 20 years. It's probably, what you said, it was 96? Yeah, so it's now, considerably even over that.
Yeah, it's over.
We're almost at 30. We're not that far from 30 years ago. In that time, if you were to put a quantity, how many times have you actually read this story?
I think this is only the 3rd time I've read it, and probably the first 2 were right when it was coming out, and then like the year after that, like because I was so excited to reread it again. I don't think I've read it probably for 20 years.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that too, because it's like, I haven't read this thing in ages, and I read it pretty much like, it was in the rotation of like, I'd reread Watchmen, I would reread, any of the other, Dark Knight Returns, the first one, and maybe a couple other books I would put back on the hopper to be read again. And this was up there, but after a few rereads, I was like, yeah, that was it. And I just kind of moved away until I got to thinking about it again for this podcast, and that's the first time I read it in at least a decade.
Did you enjoy it again?
I did, but again, it's like the amount of work that went into every panel, you kind of have to languish over. You have to kind of just stay and stare at for too long, and it took longer than it should have to read this series, because ultimately, while yes, a lot of things were going on, it really didn't have much to say. It was more about like, what would happen with this character? And if this character was really old, and would there be a successor? And then the rest of it was really about, you could really sum it up in like a few sentences of like, good guys have left, but they didn't leave the legacy that they thought where people would come in after them and follow suit. So they have to come back and tell the new generation how to behave,
How to be heroes.
Yeah. And that was basically it. Like, you could really sum up the whole thing. Did it need all 4 of these, what they would call prestige books? Probably not. But, it was well paced. But there's a lot of things where it's just like, I think you threw that in there just for fan service. I think you did this for there wasn't really any need for this component.
Right. There was a lot I liked about this series. And I just read that Ross wrote a 40-page handwritten outline of what would become Kingdom Come, pitched it to James Robinson. Ultimately, Ross teamed with writer Mark Waid, who was recommended by DC editors due to his strong familiarity with the history of the DC Universe, which makes sense. I mean, Mark Waid knows his DC inside and out. But I really liked some parts of this story. I'm a sucker for Superman and Wonder Woman romance. Not to take anything away from Lois Lane, who I loved in Grant Morrison's run. But, these were older, hardened characters, and they finally get some romance. And I think it was well done. There was... I like how some of these characters had evolved or whatever. Like the Aquaman, he's king of Atlantis, so he doesn't have time to do the land stuff. He's got the rest of the world to do.
Yeah, got 70% of this place or whatever it is of this planet is under my control.
Yeah, and I don't remember liking Batman originally when I read the story the first time, but I appreciated his character now, and how he kind of double crosses Lex Luthor, and it has the preparation, and the hearsay, the knowledge, to prepare for what was going to happen anyway. I kind of like that, and his little band of heroes and who he got to help him. So there was a lot to like about this. I thought I would like it more than I did, and maybe that's what I'm running into, is when I reread these stories that I really liked, and they're just not as fun to read anymore, maybe. And it might be just, I know how it ends.
Yeah,
so
the surprise is gone.
Right. I'm like I said in the previous episode, I'm at this point in my life where I really love comics and I enjoy the art form, and I'm glad to be reading these stories, but maybe superheroes isn't my thing anymore. I don't know. I feel weird saying that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like, with my interest growing up all these years of wanting to draw comics, and specifically superhero comics, what appealed to me about this was it was kind of like the sunsetting of a lot of these superheroes, and it's like, oh, good, I got closure on a lot of these characters, and to me, this was what that I needed. Reading comics about the superheroes just doesn't seem to have the same draw like it once did. Especially when there's other things out there that have more of a novelty. Not novelty's not the right way to phrase it, but it has the newness or a different thing that you're not expecting. You're not quite, the same that you've read over and over again. It goes, Batman's going to outsmart everyone. You know that was going to happen. Even in this book, Batman outsmarts everyone. Superman is all powerful and the natural leader, so he's going to take over and, tell people how it's done. And it's like, yep, that's basically about it.
Check mark them off.
Yeah. And you knew who was really going to pair up with whom. It's like Green Arrow was going to pair up with Batman just like he did in The Dark Knight Returns. It was Green Arrow and Batman versus Superman in that book. And it's just, it was good. And I did, I like the fact that it was like talking about just bringing the characters back to their roots, as opposed to trying to always, we got to deconstruct these heroes. That was like Zack Snyder's whole thing. It's like, I'm deconstructing Superman, I'm deconstructing Batman. Right. That's the Justice League's being. And it's like, ugh. But this is like, what works is taking these characters back to what they were to begin with, and you don't have to have these new characters. There's still stories that can be told about these other characters, and let them get old so that they can have new stories.
Yeah.
If Batman's perpetually in his 30s or whatever it is, the story's not going to get it any better. It's just going to be the same story.
Batman Beyond was better than...
It kind of was. It's like you let Batman kind of get to another stage and let his character have a path. And
he was interesting again.
Yeah. I was like, what's a cranky old Batman like?
Right.
And, he can still kick some serious butt. As Batman. But
he's got a heart problem,
But, he's just not exactly the same. And you let somebody else take over, but not simultaneously take over. It's like, Batman's in a coma. Well, we'll need another Batman. Or Batman's been zapped by Darkseid, so we don't know where Batman is. He's lost in time. So let's have another person take over. It's like, just this natural. Let it happen. And that's what I think Earth 2 worked well.
Yeah.
It's like Batman and Catwoman had a child that became the Huntress. And they got to grow up. Robin too, with his yellow pants.
So cute.
Got to be a major player. It made sense.
Yeah.
Let the characters have a cycle. But yeah, it's just, when Superman had a kid in DC continuity, it made sense because you're thinking like, oh, do you let him get a little older, let his kid, but then they super aged up his kid, and it's like, well, there goes that. So now he doesn't really have a kid.
They did an Avengers 200, and they just aged the child up.
Yep.
One thing you said, I don't know if did you see James Gunn's announcement on what's coming up in the DC Marvel or DC universe?
Yeah, the DC Comics studio or DC Studios.
Yeah. Some of them I question very much. Like, people aren't going to want to watch this, or you have all these characters and you're choosing Amanda Waller or something like that. But and even their Superman movie is Superman Legacy, where he deals with being Kryptonian. Oh, you mean like every other movie that's ever been done about him? They can't get past his Kryptonianship and just do a movie with him versus Brainiac? Come on. Now, I don't know what the story is, so maybe it'll be good. But, just the whole idea. Yeah, I want him to struggle with his Kryptonian side. It's like, yeah, he does every movie. I'm sure you're going to have Lex Luthor trying to sell real estate too, right?
Yep. Either of his own making, or he will, sink a part of the United States into the ocean in order to.
It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, it's a little bit of this, retreading of what has already kind of come before. But I think my biggest problem, let's say, is I wish he didn't announce so much.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're proposing that they've got a direction now and they've got plans on what to do. The downside, though, is that what's going to happen is what already happened before, and that's simply when it was the Snyderverse, they listed off, okay, in this year we're going to do this movie, and the Cyborg movie's going to come out, and then we're going to have these other movies, and this other movie, and then here's our 10-year plan, and then it fell apart.
Right, none of it happened.
No, and it made them embarrassing, in my opinion. It really discredited anybody going like, well, you guys blew it.
Yeah.
What, you're not coming back from that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, actually, now, they just did it again. It's
right.
like,
It did amaze me how many he said. It's like, oh, you're telling us the next 10 years. I mean, not really, but that's like, okay, how many of these are going to not ever happen? No, probably about half.
Yeah. And I think of all of them, I could see, the potential. I really can. The one that really threw me was the Supergirl. You may be able to tell a different story, but to an average person, they're just going to say, oh, it's just a female Superman. It's like you've got so many other characters that you could do or you could use. You could do a Raven movie. You could do a Starfire movie. You could do a Zatanna movie. You could do any other female lead. That would have been great. But to do Supergirl, it's like, dang it, you just are announcing that you are doing a Superman movie.
Right. Well, they just did a Batgirl movie and then canceled it, after filming it.
$200 million later.
Wait.
Whoops.
And they're doing the Supergirl movie based on some, now I haven't read those issues, but it was a recent storyline. And it might be great, and if it is, that I'm all for it. But there's other storylines you could do with that character, and then why do it? I mean, there's lots of things they could do. I don't know. I'm most excited about nothing. I mean, really, it's Swamp Thing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. The Creature Commandos was like, okay. Yeah. And I can think with the Amanda Waller thing, it could be, episodic of like, the monster of the month that she's got to, get a different crew together. And kind of like Mission Impossible, the TV series where it's like, okay, Agent, I can't remember the Peter Graves character in that
Cody
show.
Banks.
Yeah. We all need more Frankie Muniz in our life. But it was like, assemble your team. And it's like, okay, and they had a specific, like, oh, we're going to pull Martin Landau, we'll get, these other characters together, and we'll have this group specifically designed to problem or current dilemma. And it's like, that's great.
And I
It's
like James Gunn.
yeah.
His second Suicide Squad movie was great. I think it's one of my favorite DC movies they've ever done. But I don't know. I think you're right. They shouldn't have revealed as much, and maybe given more detail on a couple to try and entice you that we have everything under control. Here's what we're gonna do in the next 2 years, rather than let things spawn naturally. Because 5 years from now, there's new executives, that come up, and
DC will be bought by yet another company,
right? And you're not gonna follow through on all those promises anyway.
No.
For all we know, James Gunn will be gone next year. Because that's just
It's a publicly traded company.
Right.
And if they find that there's not being profitable with hundreds of millions of dollars, it's only going to take one bomb, and he's out.
Disney couldn't even do a trilogy and have 3 scripts ready. They had to do it on the fly anyway. So it's like, I have no faith in Hollywood anyway. There's a Star Wars reference. I'm not even sure DC needs to group all their movies into one universe. Like, just make a good movie. Just make a good Superman movie. And they have, and then they kick Henry Cavill out. But, just make a good movie. It doesn't have to be Marvelized into one big old serial. People are already kind of sick of hero movies. I feel that they're kind of on their way out a little bit. So just qualify, make a quality movie, and the audience will watch it. And then later on down the line, if you want to have 2 characters interact, great.
Some of the choices were intentional. It was like Swamp Thing. Okay, well, that's a superhero movie. Yes. Are you getting tired of superhero movies? Yes. Well, here's a superhero, but he's not really a superhero. He's just it could be a horror movie. Depends on what version of Swamp Thing they're going to do. If it's the old Bernie Wrightson era, Swamp Thing, or where it was really truly
Alan Moore.
Or is it Alan Moore's, like, the mystical,
Green.
The elements of the earth taking over. It's like, but it could truly be a horror story, and it's like, okay, superhero horror movies, that'd be great. But it's not, he's not wearing a costume. It could be, its own thing. And then the Creature Commandos, again, it's offbeat. It's almost to the point where it's like, we're at a stage where it's like, okay, we need to start having parodies of this. It's like Blazing Saddles kind of put the capstone on Westerns. It's like, we're just making fun of it. Spaceballs was kind of making fun of all this sci-fi movies.
Did you see Disney's Werewolf by Night?
That I did, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was great. I wish they'd do more of that.
Yeah, just one episode, be done.
Yeah.
Just tell a tale, take it out of whatever context, throw it right in the heart of things.
It was so entertaining and different and funny, and just...
The cameos were excellent.
Yeah.
And...
Their man thing was awesome. Like, the way they did it was great.
And you didn't have to explain. Again, it was one of those cases of those who knew, and if you didn't, you just were like, oh, that's some sort of creature. It made sense. It worked. And what I liked about Spider-Man No Way Home was the nostalgia. The story was not good.
Right.
It was just an excuse to get all these other characters together and see old characters back on the screen again. And it's like, that was fine, but, it wasn't...
Well, the whole movie didn't make sense, but,
no.
Really.
The Doctor Strange was just kind of shoehorned in there.
He's like the worst sorcerer ever.
I know it. It's like, not Sorcerer Supreme. It's like,
Right.
It was incoherent. And, it was kind of like, well, Green Goblin's going to be the bad guy anyway, and he's going to teach all these guys to still be bad guys, and even though they got a second chance. And it's like,
It was about, yeah, like you said, nostalgia,
Yep.
seeing the best Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, in there, and,
It's like I've not seen either of his Spider-Man movies.
they're pretty good. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, I just, for some reason, I have not gotten to them yet. And it's like Disney Plus, or they're just not streaming, and that's the other thing. Unless they are, and I just don't know about it, but they don't have them. Like, it's not the Disney Plus thing where all the other Marvel movies are, but then you realize, oh, wait, it's because this is not a Marvel movie. This is a Sony movie. I'm kind of done with the superheroes, and that's what I liked about Kingdom Come, was like, okay, we're all done with them, and you can see how it's over, but there's still room for a good story here or there, but it's almost also time to move on.
Yeah, it was like the end, and if that's how it ended, it was a good story to wrap it up in and everything like that. It's funny. I thought we would talk more about Kingdom Come, and maybe that says something in itself, since the whole episode is supposed to be about Kingdom Come, and we ventured off several times.
Yeah, drifting away.
I loved Kingdom Come when it first came out, and I still like it a lot, but would I marry it? No, I wouldn't. And I think we should maybe do another podcast sometime down the road where we go through some pages of it. But it's just funny how we really didn't really want to talk about it much, or it was like bridges to other things like, Werewolf by Night. And, it was just, I don't know. Should we just skip DC and Marvel altogether? No, we shouldn't. It's funny to me how even I think the last couple books we've read, we haven't gotten into the detail like we had previously. Maybe we need to change out how we're reading it or what we're picking for these superhero books, and maybe pick something neither of us have read.
That's where I was thinking too. It's like, maybe it is. It's just, we were familiar with it almost to the point where it's like, do I really need to reread it, or I still remember it? And to me, that's also a very positive thing, and trying to keep an optimistic look at this, is that I almost didn't have to read it again, because I remembered so much of it that it still holds that, like, oh man, that's great. Oh, yeah. I remember when this happened. Oh, that was great. I remember this scene, and I remember that little Easter egg of the Cosby Kids, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
And there are a lot of cool scenes that I wanted to talk about, but not this episode apparently.
No, we kind of hit up, and then seeing like Crypto, seeing Comet, seeing what was the monkey's name? Was it Beppo?
Blippo.
Yeah, and then some of these other offshoot characters, and it was great. Having read something that I never read, then I might be able to go like, yep, got it. I'm all for this, because the things that you and I have read that have resonated the most are the things we haven't read. Like Something's Killing the Children. I had read Reckless, but you had not. And it has that freshness to it because of that. Yeah. But then also on the other end, Umbrella Academy. I loved it. You were like, well.
Yeah. Well, and neither one of us had, actually, that Spider-Man story, that Kraven's Last Hunt.
Yeah.
You had read it.
Oh, true. Yep.
And I didn't. And I hated it too. I don't know.
So maybe there's no rhyme or reason.
Right. If you have opinions on this, please let us know. Email us at andthisiswhyilovecomics@gmail.com. We are on the Twitter. We're on the Facebook. Join there and get all the information you can about what's coming up. It looks like on the calendar, other than we're going to read an Iron Man story to honor our friend Aaron. And so we're going to pick out a good Iron Man story. And there's something I've never read before, so that might be interesting. Other than that, we got to go figure out what we're going to read for the next couple of months. On our Buzzsprout page, which there's a link in our notes, there is a new subscription link where You can donate some money to us, help pay for the podcast, stuff like that. No requirements whatsoever. You don't have to do it. We don't care, but there is a page for that as well. Just just to pay for things. It's not like we're gonna go buy a new Ferrari or anything like that. Microphones, subscription services, stuff like that.
Yep.
If you so feel inclined, later on in the year, if there's enough reason to, we'll do some exclusive stuff. But until then, no need. And let's see, what else? We're on the Twitter. I already said that. Thunder Chicken, thanks again for letting us use their music. Check them out on Spotify. There's also a link in the notes to go to their Spotify page, so check them out. What am I missing, Mike?
I think that covers all of it, except for leave some comments and then also give us some pointers if there's if quizzes are what's the best means of moving forward, or if there's other aspects of past shows that seem to resonate more. It's always good to bring some of those back up if there's, or other directions if there's something new to tackle.
Yeah, tell a friend if they're looking for podcasts to listen to and they like comics or old men complaining about comics. We try to keep things positive. Sometimes it's not very successful, but we do love comics a lot, and we wouldn't talk about them if we didn't. Even bad comics are better than reading nothing at all, and so we love comics, and it's in our name. And
exactly, and it is, and hopefully it does come across. Sometimes it's a little tricky, we do have our opinions.
Right.
It doesn't mean we don't love the stuff, because as beautiful as Alex Ross's art is and the impact the story had, it's like it had its time and place, and then sometimes you can go, oh, time to move on to something else, or maybe this wasn't the exact moment we should have reread it. Maybe when something else pops up, you're like, oh man, we should reread this, and it's like, oh yeah, we probably could.
Right, and that's the thing. I want to reread stuff and share my love for things, and then I'm finding out, oh, I don't really love that as much as I thought. That backfired. Maybe we should read some more newer comics, but then I don't know about that either, because I don't think they're doing it right. And I don't know. There's got to be a middle ground somewhere we'll find. I'll just let Mike keep picking the books, and
yeah, I've picked some winners, and I've also picked some clunkers.
Right. I mean, that's half the fun, I think.
Yep.
And this is why I love comics. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
And we'll talk to you later.
Bring on the thunder.
Boom, 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 boom. I don't know what that music is. It's not thunder.
No. Yeah.
It
sounds more. Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds more like a TV theme song.
All of you have felt almost all of them. These animals need to live. I know what you feel sometimes. What are we doing? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the biggest gift would be for me, and the card attached would say, "Thank you for being a friend."
is a gift.